Okay, moving on with the Center for Military History interviews. Number 419 is George Amon. He was the facilities manager. He was inside the maintenance buildings in the same location there where Darrell Stafford and Darius and Donald Carter were. But he was inside the building. He saw the event through his window. George Amon's account is also clearly north side when you read the Center for Military History interview, the way he describes it so close. In fact, it was so close to him, he thought he could see the people in the windows. Now, does this discredit him? Does this make you think, oh, there's no way he could be an honest person? Well, you know, deduction and embellishment is a typical eyewitness tendency for innocent eyewitnesses. So the fact that this plane was so close and this was such a shocking event, it doesn't surprise me at all that he would think he saw people in the windows. The place that he saw the plane corroborates everyone else. In the Center for Military History interview, he describes it as turning and gliding and pretty much directly over the facilities, the maintenance buildings there in the parking lot. So I was able to figure out who he was and from the other guys and get his phone number and talk to him on the phone to confirm his account. And of course, it is now 100% confirmed he is a North Side witness. So take a listen to what George Amon had to say. George Amon?
Speaking.
Hi, George. My name is Craig Ranke. I'm an independent journalist. I was over at Arlington National Cemetery today speaking with a few of your colleagues, your ex-colleagues over there. We've been talking to people, George, who saw the plane on 9/11. We've been documenting basically what everybody saw on that day. And I came across your interview with the Center for Military History. You saw the plane on 9/11, right?
That's correct, sir.
Going through your Center for Military History interview, it sounds like that you were actually inside your office at the time. Is that right?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, well, why don't you just kind of give me a rundown of your experience?
Yeah, well, I was in my office and I heard this loud rushing noise. Of course, we had heard on the radio that a plane might be coming, you know, or to crash into the White House. So anyway, I heard this loud noise, and I looked out my window, my office window. One window faces towards Columbia Pike, and the other window faces out towards the Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, and I guess you were there. You know how the proximity of the office building or the maintenance building to the Pentagon.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I heard this loud rushing noise, man. I'm looking up in the air and I see the plane is coming right at us. I thought, holy mackerel, they're going to smash right into our building, right?
It appeared that it was coming right for us, actually.
It was looking like it was coming over here for the buildings where we are over here.
It went, you know, right over the parking lot.
The parking lot of what?
The parking lot right there by the maintenance complex.
Oh, okay, of Arlington Cemetery in front of the maintenance buildings, the parking lot.
Yeah.
So you're saying it was directly over the top of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, did you see it approach before that? Like, did you see it approach perhaps before the Navy Annex?
Oh, yeah. Well, right at about the Navy Annex is when the noise was getting so loud, you know, and I was looking, and it came right over the top of the Navy Annex.
Right over the top of it?
Yeah, directly right over it, you know, and it came and made its approach that way. Like I say, I thought it was going to smash into our building right there.
Okay, so it looked like it was headed towards the maintenance buildings there then?
Right, right.
Do you remember the color of the plane?
No, hell no.
Right.
By the time I seen it, you know, like, I focused in on it coming in. I said, holy Christ, it's going to hit us. And it went right over the parking lot and then blammo into the...
Okay, well, let me ask you this. You know where the Citgo gas station is, right?
Yeah.
Did it look like it was to the north or the south of the Citgo gas station?
It was right in between the Citgo gas station and the maintenance complex. In between the Citgo gas station and the maintenance complex.
Oh, okay, so the north of the gas station.
The parking lot there.
Yeah, that's exactly what all the other guys said. So,
yeah.
Did you happen to see any other planes?
After it already hit the Pentagon, because I rounded up all my guys, and we headed up on top of the highest point in the cemetery there, up by Section 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was like those jets, Air Force, or you know those Oh man, I can't remember exactly what they're called. But
The F-16s you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Phantom jets, yeah.
So you didn't see any other planes than that, though? Any other commercial jets or cargo planes or anything? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, then. So you were the facilities manager, is that right?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Then I just want to make sure, because, yeah, we got this interview that you do remember interviewing with the Center for Military History?
No.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, because we have this interview that...
Like I say, it's been a few years, and man, this is something I don't talk about myself, really.
Sure.
I say even to this day, I'm still saying, God damn it, did I really see what the hell I had seen? You know,
Yeah.
it's all so unbelievable.
Right, no, I know what you mean, but I'm pretty sure this is you since you're the facilities manager, and they told me, and since of course you are describing pretty much the same thing that was described in this interview, so it says here that you went from basic training to Vietnam in Southeast Asia, where you served as a construction surveyor for the 87th Engineers, and you were in Vietnam for about 14 months, and then came back to the States out of the military and went back to your wife and child in Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Is that you?
That is correct, sir.
All right, just confirm.
I told them all that stuff.
Yeah, you sure did.
Oh, man, I must have been in shock.
The next witness that we spoke with, we actually spoke with quite a while ago. We're going to release the information now. His name is Sean Boger. He's an air traffic controller who was in the heliport tower. Now, this account, he's a well-known published account because he was right next to where the plane would have allegedly entered the building, inside the heliport tower. And he's always been used as a very strong witness for the plane impact. So we got a hold of him and talked to him on the phone for a good while. And what was key for us, of course, is determining exactly where he saw the plane fly. And sure enough, he corroborated everyone else. He describes the plane banking. He describes it on the north side of the gas station. In the Center for Military History interview, he describes watching the plane enter the building as well. So he sticks to this, but of course these claims are mutually exclusive, and it's impossible for that plane to have entered the building if it was where he and all the other witnesses say that it was. So he also describes the fact that he actually hit the deck and jumped on the ground. Now, he says he did this after the plane entered the building, but clearly if you see a plane approaching you and you're in this little tower and you've got nothing else to do, it makes perfect sense that he would have hit the deck. So whether or not he's actually, well, we know that he has to have deduced the impact.
Right. I mean, right below him, you got to remember, is Alan Wallace. The two firemen are actually right below Sean Boger, running, scrambling, diving. One of them diving under the van right in front of Boger. The other one running out into the lawn area. You got to understand that more than likely he ducked before the plane reached the wall and looked up and might have seen the fireball rising. Clearly, he had to have stopped watching that plane before it reached the highway, and rightly so. I mean, he describes the plane, nose and wings coming right at him, is his quote. So, and you know, that plane on that north path would appear to be coming right at him, or at least, you know, it's going to crash right next to him. And I know most people, I mean, again, the Arlington workers were scrambling and running away as the plane approached them, and they're much farther away. So they, you know, like any person, they think they don't know where debris is going to be coming from. I mean, at what speed and at what force. So I know most people in that situation. I know I wouldn't be looking. I'd be running away. So
Sean, bottom line, Sean Boger confirms the north side, and if he thinks that there's an issue with us stating that he didn't see the impact, then we need to have him come forward and talk more about where he saw the plane, because this is clearly the important detail here that he needs to consider. The fact that everyone else also saw the plane in the same place as he did, proving it could not be what hit the building. So we're really begging for Sean to talk to us further about it, but unfortunately he after promising follow-up and working with us in general, he never returned our calls again.
Or emails. He said he would hook us up with other witnesses, basically, and that never happened. So I can only think that either he got tipped off or he got a little cautious or worried, or I have no idea. He was very adamant about seeing the plane hit the building, so I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's deeper than that. But again, the plane cannot hit the building, the generator trailer, you have to still account for the light poles, you still have to account for the people who saw a plane flying away from the building. So, and we've got one of those. Sean Boger, please.
This is Sean.
Sean, hi. This is Aldo Marquis. We're mainly trying to recreate the flight path of the plane up till it hit the building. So we're looking for exact details.
Okay.
So you were driving the 300ZX, right? The white one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually, I would park beside the tower and walk in, and I was a supervisor at the PentaCon tower at that time. So I would walk into the tower and, we set up everything for a daily routine. And we were just sitting in the tower. A female coworker of mine, Jacqueline Kidd, she and I were in the tower. Actually, we didn't have any flights that morning.
But now, wasn't President Bush supposed to come? That's what I heard, is that he was supposed to land there that morning. Isn't that correct?
Well, actually, he was supposed to be coming back. I want to say he was coming back in the afternoon.
President Bush?
So, yeah, but once the plane hit the World Trade Center, we figured everything would be moved up. And we had gotten calls from like the Secret Service and those folks letting us know that he was going to fly back in.
Okay.
But she and I was like sitting in the tower, and it wasn't unusual for a helicopter or airplane to actually fly past the Pentagon and not be talking to us, because the Pentagon actually sits directly behind Washington National Airport, and Washington National Airport actually controlled the airspace. So before we could release an aircraft, and whenever aircraft were inbound, we'd always get a call from those guys, and then they switched communications to us. And so as she and I was just sitting around talking, we heard just a loud noise, outside of the Pentagon. And like I said, it wasn't unusual for like an H-53 to fly past the Pentagon Tower and not be talking to us. Just an aircraft making the transition from like Memorial Bridge or one of those places. And she and I was just talking. I said, I'm just surprised that nobody's ever flown into the Pentagon. And I said, I'm not even talking about a terrorist attack. I'm just saying that, the Pentagon is so close to National Airport, that we can walk out of the tower and look at the airplane and read the bottom of the plane, read the numbers up the bottom.
Sure.
That's how close the aircraft are.
Sure.
And she said, you've been saying that for years. And she said, I'll be back. I'm going to the restroom. She said, keep your eyes on the plane. And I said, okay. She went downstairs and went into the restroom. And I just happened to be looking out the window. And as I was looking out the window, I could just see a plane. And it was actually like 3 minutes later, so the plane was coming directly at us. And when I saw it, I was just in amazement. So I just looked at it, and I fell to the ground and I covered my head.
Let me ask you, how long or how many seconds would you say that you saw the plane for?
Before we hit?
Yeah.
Maybe about, I'd say between 8 and 15 seconds.
10 to 15 seconds before impact.
Oh, okay, so it was kind of slow.
It was slow, yeah.
When you saw it come, okay, let's say when it came near the Navy Annex, where in relation to the Navy Annex was the plane? Did it come
when I saw the airplane, he was practically in front of the Navy Annex. I think that street is 227. He was in front of the Navy Annex, and I could see like the bottom of might have been his landing gear, hit the top of the sign on the street, the information sign that's on the highway.
Okay.
And so he was coming like at an angle. His wings were tilted, so it was almost like he was trying to bank towards the Pentagon building.
So you would say he was kind of almost turning towards the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Okay. You could see the gas station from there, correct? The Citgo?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say, which side of the gas station would you say the plane was on as it approached? Would you say it was on the left? As you're looking at the gas station, would it be more to the right, like the Arlington Cemetery side? Or would it have been...
On my right and the gas station's left. If I'm looking out the window, if I'm looking towards the gas station, it'll be on my right-hand side. If I'm looking out the window, if I'm looking towards the gas station, it'll be on my right-hand side.
Okay. So, and if you were at the gas station with at the back of the store, with your back to the store, facing the Pentagon, it would have been to the left of the gas station. Okay. So it was closer to Arlington Cemetery rather than the highway, Route 27, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's exactly what we've been hearing from. So that it would have had to have come over the Navy Annex. Essentially, was it over the? Would you have guessed the middle of the Navy Annex, or more to your right, or more to your left?
I would say more to the right, also.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that makes complete sense, and it jives.
You know, but what else made a lot of sense to me also is that I was watching a program a couple of years ago, and the air traffic controllers at Dulles Airport were explaining what they had witnessed, and one of the ladies said that the plane actually had circled the Pentagon and looking for the White House. And she said that the White House must have been obstructed because he circled back around and hit the building. They said he saw the airplane. And so as I was thinking about that, I said, well, that explains that loud noise we heard. You know, we actually heard him the first time when he flew past the Pentagon.
Now describe the tilt that you were talking about as it came, or the turn, or as it was tilting, I guess, to the bank, if you will, or whatever. Can you describe it to me at all in any way?
Well, it just seemed like as he was coming towards me, it just seemed like he was tilting the aircraft to his right.
It started to bank to the right.
Okay. It was almost like not really going in nose first. It's just like almost like at an angle, like a right angle.
Okay. So you almost like he was off course and he was turning to straighten out.
Right.
So how did it come over low and level over the grass? Was he level over the ground, or was he descending at an angle?
He was actually descending.
He was descending. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So he wasn't actually like level over the ground, like literally just level, completely flat. No. Okay. Because that's how.
It's like he was trying to get control of the aircraft.
All right. Did you see the security video, the surveillance video?
Yes.
Did you see how the plane was low and level across the grass?
Yes.
What? And that kind of sounds different than it actually descending into the building.
Yeah, I saw the camera, and I know where those cameras are. And an aircraft, to me, is so big that when something like that is actually flying into the building, I mean, if you low, you're gonna have one view, and I think if you're up high, you're gonna have a different view. And that camera, I don't know if that camera was located on top of the building, or if they took that camera from the gate that we had to go through to get inside the area where the heliport was.
Yeah, it's the gate cam.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, and that gate cam is no higher than 3 feet.
Yeah, and it has the plane low and level across the lawn. Not coming from a descent.
See, I'm like 2 stories up, and as I'm looking at that plane didn't seem like it was level. It seemed like it was actually at a point of descent. So if it was, let's say, 3 stories high, it was descending to 2 stories high. So it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was base level. I just thought to me it would be like too big to actually be that low, because he's almost like 10 or 15 feet from the ground if you just go by that video.
Right. Okay.
And if that's the case, he was taking out a lot more stuff. Like if he was that low, I think I don't know. I think he definitely would have taken out a lot more stuff than he did.
Would you say that it looked like it hit low, or that it hit high?
I pretty much say it hit maybe between the 2nd and 3rd floor.
In addition to Sean Boger, we spoke with Levi Stevens, who's another published witness. He declined to allow us to publish his recording, but we can report to you that, so in essence, he's one of 2 out of 13 Northside witnesses who we don't have permission to publish their interviews. So basically, the fact is he did tell us he saw the plane on the north side of the gas station.
He saw it come over the Navy Annex.
He saw it come over the Navy Annex.
And most importantly, he said it did not look like an American Airlines.
We think this is why he's nervous and why he doesn't want us to report what he saw. He's afraid. A lot of these people, they don't want to be involved. People are aware of a deception, and they want to keep silent because of that fact.
Levi's got his reasons, and we believe we have a mutual respect with him. A key thing too about Levi, he does believe the plane hit the building, but when you actually study his account, he's got his back to the Pentagon wall. He was on his cell phone with his sister. As he saw the plane come over the Navy Annex, he didn't think much of it. Probably, obviously, because it was kind of coasting into that turn. But as he saw it turn towards the Pentagon, that's when he started to take notice of it. But again, he's in a van. He's got his back to the wall. Essentially, he wouldn't have been able to see it impact. All his other accounts, or his account in itself, when it was published in Stars and Stripes, does indicate that he turned around and saw the explosion. So the plane was already flying away from the scene, and he wasn't aware of that. So he was one of the witnesses who obviously came forward and who thought the plane hit the building and describes his experience. And we're the guys who obviously are looking for the key details in his account, and that's all we were trying to essentially get from him, was whether the plane was on the north side, south side, whether he saw poles 1 through 5 hit, and he didn't. He saw the plane on the north side, so he is a north side witness, and that's what we're reporting.
We definitely believe that Levi Stevens needs to be subpoenaed along with all these other witnesses in congressional hearings or grand juries or whatever it takes to fully document where all the witnesses saw the plane fly, since we know these contradictions are undeniable. Next up on the Center for Military History Interviews, we have number 567, Maria de la Cerda. Maria is a member of the Army Band, Pershing's Own. She's the first female drum major. She's a career musician with the Army. And she was at Arlington National Cemetery on 9/11, and she describes the plane as closer to the cemetery. But what's even more important about Maria's account is in her initial interview even to the Center for Military History, she describes how she thought the plane hit the other side. So what this means, of course, is that she basically saw the plane fly over the building and assumed it must have hit, probably because of the explosion. And so, in fact, when we confirmed with her account, she confirmed, well, she describes it now as to be the top of the building, is what she remembers now. Her mind's eye, she said it was at the top. So this is 100% contradictory to the official flight path and the official damage, of course. The plane had to have come in low and level to the ground, as shown in the Pentagon 5-frame security video, and be on the south side naturally, but hit at the bottom floor of the building, the first floor. So the notion that she could possibly think that it hit the other side or the top of the building is a clear indicator that she saw this plane pulling up and flying away, like we know it had to have done.
And she also was puzzled, so that's very key as well. People have to understand, that she just accepted the plane somehow must have went in, and she was puzzled by the fact that she thought she saw it hit on the other side or hit high or hit the top of the building. So it's very key.
Once again, she corroborates the north side just like all the other witnesses. So let's take a listen to what Maria had to say.
I'm a military musician and was working and had just finished a full honor. An 8:30 we call it. It's a report time and normally scheduled at 9, so it was through about 9:25. I think it was section 54. Saw after it was finished at that point, drum majors had to recon. We had to go ahead. I don't know what we call recon exactly, but we had to go ahead of the mission and talk through the ceremony. So I was in my 99 Silver Jetta and drove ahead of the band, down ahead of the band. So when they were over, they got on the bus, and one of the bus drivers said he heard 2 planes had hit in New York, and I said, "You're kidding? That's incredible." And as I was walking down the street, I heard what I heard was a sonic boom, what I thought was a sonic boom. But it's not unusual in the cemetery because they have flyovers from time to time, missing man formation, and they use jets normally. And I was under tree cover. Since it was September, there was still foliage, and I always regret walking the streets, but in order to get my car, I would have walked across Section 54. And I chose not to do that at that time. But I looked up and I didn't see anything until I saw the flash mushroom cloud from the PentaCon. And honestly, it was going so fast. That's why I've often thought I wish I could spend some more time on that image and actually dissect it, because I don't remember actually seeing the object fly in. I just remember the flash. And at that point, I thought it was a missile, because coming from the east were two F-16s, and I did see those two guys. And also there was a platoon of seamen nearby, and I yelled at him. I thought it was attack. I didn't know it was a commercial flight, and that was pretty much it.
Right, yeah. A lot of people describe it like that. It just happens so quick. It's really hard for the brain to process everything. So does that mean you didn't necessarily see it approach? It was already basically, but you do remember seeing an object.
Yeah, I saw the impact. I saw a fireball. I say mushroom cloud. It was more not. It didn't have the stalk of it. It truly was a cloud from a fireball. Yeah, I saw it, but I don't remember seeing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Let me ask you this. If at all you can process this. Now, you know where the Citgo gas station is located?
Yeah.
Were you in your car or outside at the time?
I was walking outside.
You were walking.
And this is if you look at a map, you can see that the cemetery is right next to 395, a highway, and then the PentaCon, the grounds of the PentaCon.
Right.
So we're sort of hill. You can't really even see anything else except the PentaCon.
So Arlington Cemetery is to the north of the gas station. So do you imagine that, from what you recall, obviously it's hard for you to remember the plane itself, but do you think you might, from your feeling, that the plane would have been perhaps closer to Arlington Cemetery, on the Arlington Cemetery side of the gas station, or further away from the gas station, on the other side?
Definitely the Arlington Cemetery, because the sound was over my head.
Oh, what? The sun was over your head?
The sound of the sonic boom. Some people insist there wasn't a sonic boom, and I felt like there was. I heard over my head, walking in the cemetery, like I said, a sonic boom, which would not be unheard of with jets in a funeral, some funerals. But in this particular, it was a commercial flight going really, really fast. Mm-hmm. Some people say it was been impossible, but I did hear something like that. And that's why I said it was on the cemetery side. Well,
another interesting thing you said in the interview was that you were surprised that the damage was to the side of the PentaCon that you were facing, and that you thought it had actually hit on the other side.
Yeah, my mind's eye, I saw it hit on top.
On top.
One eyewitness said it appeared that the pilot went to the side of the building, not directly in. Again, the one witness seemed to think that the pilot tried to avert going directly in. Our
unit had support with not the recovery portion of certainly not the recovery portion of the operation. We had our unit supported by providing manning of computers for ID badges for everything. And so being on site, we got to look at it quite a bit.
Right.
And my sense of it was not that it was a side impact, but rather that it was on top. My sense of it was not that it was a side impact, but rather that it was on top.
Your feeling was that it was actually on the top part of the PentaCon, where the impact was. Okay. Okay. Wow, yeah.
But that was where the explosion happened, and that's probably what my eye saw, was attracted to.
Did you see any other planes at all, or do you recall anything like at the very same moment of the attack?
Other than the impact and the two F-16s, other than the jets, you mean?
Definitely not F-16s, right, exactly. Perhaps a different type of...
Another commercial?
Or any type of jet, a military cargo plane or something around the same time.
Anything. No, I don't recall that.
Did you happen to actually witness the plane impact the building, or were the trees in the way?
I actually saw the impact, but like I said, what I recall is the fireball, and that's all. I mean, I wasn't under the trees at the time. When I was under the trees is when I heard the boom, the sonic. What I interpreted as a sonic boom, like a jet.
Okay, but there was like a clear view between you and the actual...
And the Pentagon, yes. But
at the same time, you thought it hit the other side, is what you said in your original interview.
I said I thought it hit on top.
Okay. Well, in the interview you say the other side, but as you recall now, apparently, the top, which is actually, in essence, the same thing. So, to you, it seemed to hit high in the building rather than low.
Right, it hit higher than what at the aftermath. We're looking at the building itself. It looked like looking at the impact, looked like it was to the side versus the top.
Right.
And obviously it was, because the plane was coming out of the side.
Right.
Or the remnants of it.
Now, do you recall at all, as far as the placement of the plane being directly over the Navy Annex, or would you say even closer to Arlington Cemetery?
I would say over Arlington Cemetery.
Okay, so that's it for our North Side witnesses. There's a lot of them, obviously, put together with the initial Citgo witnesses. There should be no doubt in anyone's mind that this is where the plane flew. There's really nowhere else you can go with it. But I want to revisit another important point that we've uncovered here with these interviews. The cemetery workers, the maintenance workers, Darrell Stafford, Darius Prather, and Donald Carter all saw the second plane as well. So we're getting very important clues from them as to the exact flight path of the second plane, or the C-130, piloted by Lieutenant Colonel Steve O'Brien. They all described the plane, the second plane, as coming in seconds after. None of them saw it shadowing or coming in at the same time or veering away immediately after, or 3 to 5 seconds after. They saw, 30 seconds to a minute to 2 minutes later, and that's what we believe really happened. But what's contradictory is that they all described the plane approaching from over Arlington Cemetery.
I can't say he came over that building. I'm thinking it was more over the cemetery.
From where, though? What direction?
Coming from this direction.
Back there? So, where did it seem like he was coming from?
Let's see. Coming from this way.
Now, this is 100% irreconcilable with the 84 raids flight path of the C-130. We've been saying since day one that the official account of this plane makes no sense with where the pilot himself says that he flew. So now that we have more testimony as to where this plane flew, it simply does not make sense with the official data, once again, showing that somehow this C-130 played an important role, a significant role, in cover for the flyover jet.
Right. They obviously described the plane coming from the west, traveling eastbound, which is exactly what I had interpreted in Steve O'Brien's account, which is what he described as the plane is, or him meeting up with the plane after he'd just gone by the mall, and the plane essentially passing in front of him and crossing around, and him traveling or continuing on westbound, and then actually finally, after 3 radio calls, turning back around, traveling eastbound. And that's exactly, that would place him right over Arlington Cemetery. So,
now, the raids data has the C-130 turning away from the Pentagon back up by the Navy Annex, and all of the Arlington Cemetery witnesses report it further up, closer to the Pentagon, or else almost directly over the cemetery, the maintenance buildings over there. So this next key witness did not see the decoy jet approach. He only heard the explosion, ran outside, and then saw the second plane. Now, this witness is number 428 in the Center for Military History interviews. When read, has a lot of interesting implications because he describes the C-130 a lot closer than the other people. So this led some people to believe that, hey, maybe he was talking about a North Side flyover jet. Well, we got a hold of him. His name's Russell Roy. We found out from the other workers, we've tried to figure out who would be the mechanic, like he describes, and I found him, and we got his account. So we know that Russell Roy is not a flyover witness. He did not see the plane approach. He did not see a plane fly over. He only saw the second plane. But where he saw the second plane is absolutely key, because once again, this is fatally contradicts the 84 raids data and corroborates his colleagues who work at Arlington Cemetery who saw the C-130 as well.
We're talking with Russell Roy. Russell, I was asking you earlier, this interview from the Center for Military History, interview number 428, was this you?
Yeah, it was me.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us your story, just basically how it happened for you on 9/11?
Well, basically, we had come down to 123 to turn in our clothes, and discussing about what had happened in New York City, with the towers. And all at once, we just heard all this volume, the building shaking. So we ran out. When we ran out, the plane already went into the PentaCon.
Oh, okay, so you were here when you heard the explosion.
Yeah, we ran out like where
Why don't you go over there and show us?
Where the white truck is.
Oh, where the white truck is?
Yeah, in that direction.
All right, let's go over there. What did you see?
We just seen the smoke, and we could feel the heat from the plane.
Okay.
So then we wanted to get away, well, my friend and I, Mr. McGill, we wanted to get away from the gas pump, so we ran over that way to the left. When we ran to the left, that's when we seen the other plane.
Where did you see this other plane?
We was running over to the left, and the plane come down like that. Then it made a left turn and just went on.
Oh, it went off.
Yeah, but just seemed like we was just so close to that plane, like we could almost see in that plane.
Oh, it was that low?
That was that low.
Okay.
So then the military plane came afterwards, and that was it.
So you can't really see the Pentagon from here at all?
Well, you could see it then. There's trees and stuff that grew up now.
Oh, okay, the trees are smaller?
Yeah, so you could see it.
The other plane, did you see it flying away over there, or what color did the other plane look like that you saw?
Man, I couldn't tell you what color the plane was.
Did it look like it had jet engines, or did it look like it had propeller engines?
I would say propeller engines.
Propellers. How many?
I don't know. I really don't know, but I would say it had propellers. Like I said, it happened so quick, and we were scared, so we was hitting the ground, because we said they're coming again, and we just hit the ground.
But it seemed like it came from.
It was on the left side of that wall there. Okay. Like that's where it come down. It was on the left side of that wall there. Okay. Like that's where it come down.
And it just kind of
come down, then it went on over to the left. It buried to the left.
So it never really went over the Pentagon?
No, it never went over the Pentagon.
Okay, you just kind of turned around.
Turned around.
And just.
But it came and buried off to the left.
Okay.
Then airplane came, like it was chasing it or whatever.
The fighter jet.
The fighter jet.
Okay. Now, did you notice any other planes in the distance?
No.
Or banking away any other way?
No, didn't see no other planes.
All right, let me ask you this. Did it look like the wings were swept back, or did they look straight?
I would say straight.
I would say straight across the plane.
I would say straight.
All right, and you only saw that for a couple seconds.
Yeah, it happened so quick. But it was a second plane.
Yeah.
A lot of people say it wasn't, but it was a second plane.
All right, so we've gotten a hold of the most critical and key witness accounts in the Center for Military History. All of them corroborate the north side. We've established now that the true flight path for the C-130 is 100% irreconcilable with the official story and the official data as well. So,
and we got another witness to the DC flight path and the loop that Steve Chaconis saw.
Right, William Middleton saw the plane approach in the same loop.
Right, like it was coming around to the pattern.
Okay. So once again, all of these important points are very key and very fatal to the official story, as well as just the simple fact that the plane was over the Navy annex. So we like to cite all of these claims as important, one being north of the Citgo, former Citgo, two being east of the Potomac, coming from east of the Potomac River, and 3 being over the Navy Annex. If you couldn't see the Citgo station, but you're at the Navy Annex property, or like Edward Paik, he saw that plane flying over the Navy Annex. Well, this already is irreconcilable with the official data and physical damage, which requires the plane to be on the south side of Columbia Pike at all times, and not over the Navy Annex at all. So I happen to speak the 13th North Side witness, is what we're calling this guy. Terry Marin is his name. He was at the Navy Annex, and his well-known published account has always described the plane as directly over him on the Navy Annex property. Most people like to focus on his parallel claim with the Navy Annex, but clearly heading would be a very difficult thing to tell, particularly from his location, which was just between the wings of the Navy Annex. So he only saw the plane, the belly of the plane, from underneath him.
For a second.
For a second, and then ran out and saw the tail. So if he saw the tail at all, we're thinking it had to have been as the plane flew over, because if it was low and level with the ground, as it had to be to cause the physical damage, he wouldn't have seen the tail at that point. So after he ran out, he probably saw it after it banked around and was pulling up. Terry Marin works for a defense contractor, I believe, and he's not allowed to give formal interviews. I went to his house, knocked on his door, talked to him in person for about an hour, and confirmed the details of his account in person. He said off the record, but I can report from personal experience what he said, and there's no way the plane could have been on the south side of Columbia Pike, and it had to be directly over him. And he states that he could not tell that it was an American Airlines plane because he only saw the belly. So these are all important points, and therefore really mean that what Terry Marin saw on that day is 100% irreconcilable with all the official reports and the physical damage, and he corroborates the north side claim just simply by placing the plane over the Navy Annex. So with all this evidence and all these witnesses, it leads to the #1 question that people always ask us: where are the flyover witnesses? Well, we have an honest-to-goodness flyover witness. He's officially validated in the Library of Congress and now independently confirmed by us. His name's Roosevelt Roberts. He's another Pentagon police officer. He was in the Pentagon at the time of the explosion, so he did not see the plane approach at all. He did not see the Pentagon attack jet on the approach or before the explosion at all. He heard the explosion when he was inside the Pentagon.
And felt it.
Felt it. He was only a few steps away from the outside of the building. So immediately after the explosion, he ran outside, of course not knowing what had just happened, and he saw a plane flying away and banking instantly, very low. He claims less than 100 feet. So this could be no other than the flyover jet. It would have to be because of time, the proximity that it was to the explosion at the Pentagon.
And he describes a jet.
And how low it was, of course.
Right.
And a jet. He did not see a C-130. He did not see a cargo plane, and he's very explicit in this. So Roosevelt is a true honest-to-goodness flyover witness. That's all he saw, was the plane flying over the flying away from the building, proving, of course, that all of the north side claims are 100% accurate.
Right. He thought it was a second plane. That's key. That's what the whole purpose of the second plane story was. He describes a second plane, and fortunate enough for them, and I don't know if his interview's been edited or not, but he doesn't explicitly say a jet in his Library of Congress interview, which is why it didn't tip us off and didn't tip off probably a lot of people. But the key was he saw this plane immediately after the explosion, thinking there was a, quote, invasion.
My overtime day, and I was assigned as Unit 156, which is scheduled to be at the heliport at 10:45 for departing flights. So I was doing my reliefs and making my way through that, coming towards that side of the building, and I stopped at the south loading dock, and I relieved one. As I was sitting there, there's a TV that's right there, and all of a sudden a news flash came across the TV and said the World Trade Center has been bombed. And first thing that came to my mind is New York City, because I'm from New York, and I started thinking about my parents. So after I thought about it, I looked again, and they said that it was another plane coming on the television. And then my sergeant, Sergeant Woody, he called and he said, "Hey, Rob, listen, we're going to Threadcon Delta." As I hang up the phone, the plane hit the building. It all came at the same time. Watching the TV, it was almost timed for preciseness. So as I hung up the phone and I ran to the
center of the dock, and I looked up, and I saw another plane flying around the south parking lot. It's about like 9:12, 9:11 in the morning. And then there was dust and stuff coming from the ceilings, and you could hear people screaming. So what I did was I turned around and I drew out my weapon. I didn't know what was going on. I thought we was being invaded. I didn't know what was happening.
When we first contacted him, he was in his car, I believe, on his cell phone. He said, he was gracious enough to say, yeah, I'll give you guys an interview, sure. He said, give me a call back. Before we let him go, we wanted to ask him about his account about being on the loading dock and seeing this second plane. And he was cool enough to give us an interview and answer our questions on that.
On the spot,
On the
basically.
spot. And all the details we got were specifically about this second plane that he saw after the explosion.
He promised to follow up with us and draw the flight path of the plane that he saw and exactly where it flew, because to be honest, it's a bit confusing from where he claims it banked around.
In that call that we had with him, we basically were supposed to follow up with him at about 2 o'clock. We tried calling back. We got his email address as well. We tried calling him back, 2 o'clock. He wasn't available. Called him the next day. I spoke with him. Didn't record it, but spoke with him. And I asked him again, did you see, or was the plane that you saw, the second plane you saw, the jet, an actual, commercial aircraft jet that you saw? He said, yes, sir. So, I made it clear to him, we're trying to find out exactly what this was, and it was not the C-130 that he saw. And he did not see the plane approach. He does not describe a plane approaching. He describes a plane over the south parking lot, banking away, turning away from the scene, actually going, from what it sounds like, he may have his directions a little mixed up, but he has it going back around to the mall entrance on the other side of the Pentagon, which would basically be kind of a U-turn.
After that, it was clear he was avoiding us. He would not return our calls. He would hang up when he found out it was us.
After a while, we thought, okay, he's tipped off, or he thinks something's up, or he thinks we're conspiracy theorists, or who knows. We have no idea what he was thinking, but I called him on, I believe, a Saturday night. It was probably about 9:30 his time.
He finally took the call.
Right. He picked up the phone. I asked him, I said, Roosevelt, this is Aldo Marquis. I said, can you hear me out? And he said, go ahead. And I said, is there any reason why you're avoiding us? And he said, well, I've been busy, so I just haven't been able to talk to you. And so I basically just kind of went into things with him. And I said, well, look, your account's very important, and just going to explain to you and be honest with you what the implications are of what you saw and what we've already discovered. And so I started to lay it out to him, and I confirmed, and I asked him again. I said, are you sure, the plane that you saw, are you sure it's not a propeller plane or a C-130 like that? And he was sure, and it wasn't a C-130 in the position that they describe it as over Arlington Cemetery, and it wasn't a plane at a high altitude. It was close, it was low. And
well, even the official data doesn't have the C-130 flying where he saw the plane. So it could not have been. His timing, nothing that he says makes sense with anything
the bottom line,
other than a flyover.
Absolutely, and the bottom line is I explained to him what the implications were. And he still agreed to give us an interview.
An on-camera interview, in person. He said he would do it.
It was scheduled on June 8th, a Sunday at 9 a.m. I said, look, my partner will give you a call to confirm everything, get your address and all that stuff. We'll set up an interview.
Turns out he backed out. I called to confirm, and he had changed his mind. He's scared. We know he understands the implications and that he prefers to stay as quiet about it as possible. Naturally, we have no choice but to report this because of the dire implications, and we're sorry that Roosevelt had to see this, and we're sorry that he doesn't want to be involved, and we don't blame him for that. But it's our duty as citizens to report this important information, and we can't cover it up. There are people dying every day because of this fraudulent war on terror. So the implications here are just way too great to keep any of this information silent. So we will bring it out. It's our absolute responsibility. And we apologize to the witnesses, but the implications are not our fault. It's not our fault that the North Side claim proves a military deception on 9/11. We can't help that. We're merely reporting what the witnesses said. Now, most of this information was officially validated already shortly after the event, either by the Center for Military History interviews or by the Library of Congress in the case of Roosevelt Roberts. So we're really just independently confirming what's already on record.
Right, putting the puzzle pieces together. If the plane was on the north side, the only logical conclusion is that it had to fly over the building or fly away from the building. It could not have hit the building. It cannot show up low and level, skimming across the lawn 6 feet above the ground. It can't hit the light poles. You know, it can't smash pole number 1 into Lloyd's cab. With Roosevelt, he understood the implications. He knew what it all meant. You know, he asked me, you know, did anybody see the second plane? Did anybody else see the second plane? And because he still was referring to it as the second plane. And at that point I said, well, yeah, we're sure other people saw it. The problem is that it's not a second plane that you saw. It is the plane. And as you heard in the interview, or can hear in the interview, he describes that plane as coming from the same place that the first one impacted. So he believes that there was a second plane right in the area at that exact time, flying away from the scene. And he believes it was a commercial aircraft, a jet aircraft. Craig went, the next step and stuck to the interview.
I went there anyway, showed up at his doorstep, knocked on his door. As soon as he found out who I was, he said, listen, I can't talk to you, you have to go. And basically shut the door. So we did what we could to get his account. We have this one recorded interview, which again simply confirms what he's told Jennifer Brennan and is documented in the Library of Congress. So we're going to play that complete phone call, since this is the only data that we have in regards to Roosevelt Roberts. So, you know, whatever details that are unclear as to the flight path, we're sorry, that's just the way it is. But to be honest with you, it really doesn't matter, because the data proves that it could not have hit the building and that it did fly away, regardless of how clear or unclear Roosevelt is on these details. So let's take a listen to his complete phone call with us.
Hello, Roosevelt?
Yeah.
All right, thanks for taking the call.
Okay.
Yeah, I just we had been listening to the recordings that I guess Jennifer Brennan, which is the daughter of one of the other police officers there, what I guess she had done with you guys. If I can, really quick, just if you can, just tell your story.
Hold on 1 second. You caught me driving.
Okay, well, you know what? Let me just ask you a couple of quick questions. There was mainly a couple of specific things. When you had mentioned right as you hung up the phone, you ran outside. Which parking lot? Which dock were you at?
I was in South Parking, and I was at the East Loading Dock when I ran outside and saw the low-flying aircraft above the parking lot.
Okay. Was it a jet, or was it a? Do you remember what kind of plane it was?
It looked like to me at that time a large aircraft liner.
Like a.
It wasn't a jet. It was a commercial aircraft.
Okay. Did it have propellers, or did it have jet engines?
It looked like jet engines at that time.
Jet engines. Okay. So how close were you to running outside? Because this seemed to be pretty quick, at least from what your account sounded like. It sounded like literally the explosion happened and then you ran outside. I mean, do you remember how many seconds it was when you heard the explosion and then saw that plane?
From the time the explosion hit till I ran outside, it's a loading dock, and you can run right out to the look out and look off. And then you see the flickering lights inside the area, and then real quick I realized that it was some sort of attack and there was going to be a countermeasure with it.
Right. So how many seconds would you guess?
Maybe 10 seconds tops.
10 seconds tops?
10 seconds tops.
So you heard the explosion, and 10 seconds later you were outside and you were able to see that plane?
Correct. You could see that plane just as clear as day. Couldn't miss it.
What color was it? Do you remember?
It was, to me, at that time, it looked like it was silver in color.
Like silver in color, but you saw it over the south parking lot.
Right, around the lane 1 area, and it was like banking just above the light poles, like.
Okay. And
had to been no more than 50 feet. It was less than 100 feet.
Wow. And do you remember how many engines you saw on it?
I couldn't count for the engines,
And was it moving fast?
Oh, it was moving extremely fast. It was like maybe you saw that aircraft maybe for like a quick 5 seconds.
For a quick 5 seconds. But you saw it over the south parking lot, over lane 1?
In the south parking lot over lane 1.
Okay. Do you remember which direction it was headed?
Coming from the 27 side, 27 heading east towards D.C., coming from that area, it was the highway. If you would have come up 395 north heading towards the Pentagon and you got off in South Parking, you were like right there, because 395 went right into 27.
So from where it headed away from the Pentagon, which direction was it heading?
From the can you repeat that one more time, please?
Yeah, when it was heading away from the Pentagon, this second plane, do you remember which direction it was heading?
It was heading back across 27, and it looks like, it appeared to me, I was in the south, and that plane was heading like southwest, coming out.
So like banking around, turning back around?
Correct.
Okay.
Banking around, coming back out, turning southwest, and going straight across.
Okay. So did it look like it went out over the river and kind of turned around?
It looked like it went over on the mall entrance side and turned around, because you got the mall there, and then where I was south, and the plane, from the direction it was sitting, it was facing west, so it went southwest away from the Pentagon.
Southwest away from the Pentagon. Okay, so kind of doing a U-turn in a way?
Right.
Okay.
Because it banked out, and it was like U-turning, coming around and coming out. It looked like, for those brief seconds, it looked like how do I want to say this? It missed the wrong target, and it was going like out of the way, like back to the airport or something like that.
Oh, like, so it's headed towards the airport, it looked like.
Well, no, not heading towards the airport. It's almost like if a pilot misses good, he'll try to do a banking and come around because he missed the target. He missed the landing zone.
Got it.
One eyewitness said it appeared that the pilot went to the side of the building, not directly in. Again, the one witness seemed to think that the pilot tried to avert going directly in.
And are you 100% sure it was a jet, an actual jet plane?
Commercial aircraft.
Commercial aircraft. Okay. So there was another commercial aircraft in the area as the plane hit. Then basically, is that what you think?
Yes, sir. That's not what I think. I saw it. It was 2 aircraft. That's for sure.
Okay.
Now, where did it seem like it came from?
It seemed like when I saw it, by the time I got to the dock, it was already in the parking lot of lane 1. And it was so large, you couldn't miss from seeing it.
Right, but from what direction did it seem like it came from?
It seemed like that it came from, hold on a second. It seemed like it came from southwest, the same way it came in, or appeared that it came in, it seemed like it was southwest. Everything came in almost like where the first plane had fell into the Pentagon right there. It looked like it came from that direction.
So from the same direction as
from the impact side, basically, from that direction.
Everything right. Exactly.
Got it.
Okay.
Now, how long would you be sure that it was about 10 seconds that it would take you to run from the phone to the outside, or would you think it was less than 10 seconds?
Or a little bit more?
It would take about 10 seconds because upon impact, I stepped out the little booth that I was in, and the distance between that booth and the edge of that dock is about I'm like 7 steps away from there.
Wow.
So it was extremely close.
Got it.
So you're right there.
Okay. Well, I'll let you get going there. Would it be possible to get an email from you so we could even get you to draw on a map exactly where you saw everything and where you were standing? Because I'm trying to gauge everything, and it's kind of hard without seeing it on an overhead. Would that be possible?
Oh,
Yeah, that's not a problem. My email address
yeah, go ahead.
is .mil.
.mil, okay.
And I've switched from being a professor to a special agent. I work for the Anti-Terrorism Force Protection Directorate now.
Oh, okay. All right, excellent. Well, we definitely would love to. When's another good time to get in touch with you, where we could speak more at length with you?
I'm going to be back in the office no later than 2 o'clock.
Okay. We'll try to give you a buzz back later then. And I'm assuming this is your cell phone, or it transfers to your cell phone?
Yes, sir. This is my cell phone.
Okay, great. Well, again, I appreciate the time. You'll definitely be hearing back from me, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, Roosevelt.
Hey, no problem. Anytime.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Stay safe.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
Out.
Roosevelt definitely needs to be contacted. He's not going to talk to us. He may not talk to anybody except some type of congressional panel.
He needs to be subpoenaed, bottom line. Yeah. All these people do, and that's what we're calling for here. We need grand juries. We need congressional investigations. We need attention to this information. And this is where you can come into play. Anybody watching this, you can help us. We're providing for you evidence, proof of a military deception, a tool that any of you can use to approach media, to approach the authorities, and put the pressure on them. Force a response out of them. Force them to acknowledge that they saw the data. Send them a link to it, or send them your own DVD. You know, we don't care about citizen investigation team. This is about this evidence. Force individuals within media and authorities to acknowledge the evidence, acknowledge that they're aware of it, and once they are, hold their feet to the fire. Tell them if they do nothing about it, this will be documented. We have to put together a list of the people who are ignoring this information, because I'll tell you what, once you have knowledge of a crime and you do nothing about it, that's obstruction of justice. So that's a crime within itself. So we can tell these people that, listen, eventually if you ignore this information and do nothing about it, you will be prosecuted. I mean, we've got information from Pentagon police officers. Why isn't the Pentagon police doing something about this? We've called them, we've contacted them, they listen to us, then nothing. And that's where it gets left. So, you know, this is serious, and we need everybody to help us. I mean, the more people approaching the media and authorities with this information, the more chances are that somebody's going to eventually respond.